we can get through it. I spent most of the morning remembering that FFFFFFC is -4, not -12. Yep, that was me. But I figured it out. Okay, we're safe. Little warning. You know, if you see negative numbers on the test, be careful. Okay, let's get started. So problem 1 is virtual memory. And so, okay, let's do this. How many people have downloaded the exam review and looked at it, read it? Okay. All right. I'll try to adjust. So, the memory is byte addressable. Memory addresses are 1 byte. None of that was really important to me when I did this problem. Virtual addresses are 16 bytes long, okay? Physical addresses are 13 bytes long. Page size is 512 bytes. That means you need 9 bits to specify a page offset. The TLB is 8-way set associated with 16 total entries. That means there's really only 2 indexes in the TLB. And the cache is 2-way set associated with a block size of 4 bytes and a capacity of 64 bytes. I think that what that means is there's 16 slots, 16 indexes. We'll find out. Is that right? Sounds right.
That sounds about right.
Okay, because I think it's 2 times 4 divided into 64. Okay, so this is the preliminary stuff. Problem 1 says, this is the bits representing a virtual address. Please label them with the bits that represent the virtual page offset, the bits that represent the virtual page number, the TLB index, and the TLB tag information. So, ta-da! And I was going to change this blue. I promised myself I was going to do that, and then I spent all morning figuring out what C means. Okay, so, remember I said the page size is 512 bytes. 2 to the 9th is 512.
And then the rest just be.
So the lower 9 bits, 0 through 8, are the offset into the virtual page. And that leaves the rest to be the page number that identifies that virtual page. Okay? Yeah, the first 2 examples have nice, pretty pictures, and we go down to left for that. I spent the first day on the first 2 and the second day on all the other 7 questions. Okay. So we accomplished this first part. Now we're going to do the second part. Remember that the, let's see, where is it? Oh yeah, it's 8-way associative, and there are 16 total entries. So if you divide 16 by 8, you get 2. You only need 1 bit. Oops. Yeah, you only need 1 bit to represent those 2 indexes, 0 or 1. That means all the other bits become the translation look-aside buffer tag. Okay, so this is the answer to that question in pretty format. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, problem B gives us the same information, 1B, but now it wants us to look at the page, the physical addresses. Okay? So the thing to remember here, okay. So the thing to remember from the previous slide is that there are 9 bits that are the offset, right? And the offset is the same for both virtual addresses and physical addresses. So lower 9 bits are the physical page offsets, bits. Everything else is the physical page number that identifies that physical page. Okay? So let's go, and now we have to label how the caching parts of the address occur. So we'll take a look at that. Okay.
You have to look at the table.
What?
There's a table.
A table?
Yeah.
To figure
Yeah, how do you figure it all out?
I think you're thinking ahead of it.
Yeah, I had that for other problems. I didn't use it for this problem. Okay.
Hmm.
So, the way I did this problem is, the block size is 4. So, how many bits do I need to represent 4? I need 2 bits.
Two.
So this is the cache offset or the block offset. And then 2 times 4 is 8. 8 goes into 64 8 times. That means there are 8 indexes in the cache. And those are the 3 bits. So that's the cache index. Okay. And then the rest are the cache tags. So that's how I calculated those. Any questions? Maybe I should make you guys visit. Okay, moving on. Okay, given the format of the virtual address, so this is the virtual address, put the bits in. So this is pretty easy. You guys know how to do this?
Yes.
Okay, what's the first?
1110.
Wow. 1110. The next one is D. The next one's 1, and that's 3. That's easy. Okay. So now we are asked some questions about our virtual address, which you can kind of see. I need to be really blue. So the first question is what is the virtual page number? Well, we take the yellow bits, we split them up into
So 1, 8.
4, and so it's 1, 8. Then we want to know what the TLB index is. Well, it's only 1 bit, right?
So 0.
So it's 0. The tag is going to be, yeah, you have to know hexadecimal. Yeah, 0C, right?
C.
Okay, so now do we have a page hit? Now we need the table for this part.
So looking
So
at index
we
0.
look up in index 0, we take this, the index 0, and we look for C in the tag.
And it's
No
not there.
C.
No C. So it's not a table hit.
So we did not hit the TLB cache. This is a fast way, instead of having to run through the page tables, because the page tables can be hierarchical, if you remember reading your reading, right? You may have to go through 4 levels of page tables to actually finally get to a physical page number. So the TLB is just a cache. It remembers the most recently used tables, yeah.
So when is it a page fault? When your
Here's
page
the
has to
next
be
part.
loaded into the TLB?
The page, no, the fault does not occur if it's not in the TLB. That just means you have to, the operating system has to traverse the page tables, which are normally in memory. A page fault occurs when you find the entry in the page table and the valid is a 0. That means it's not in memory. It's
Or-
on disk.
And it's also if you don't find the entry in the table too, right? Or do you always find
That happens, you're really screwed.
That's kind of really a technicality. I mean, your operating system is going to traverse the tables for you.
it? Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. If you're implementing an operating system, yes, that would be the same answer.
Okay.
Right. But in our simple table, I think we have an exhaustive page table, right? Not sure. Okay, so page fault. Well, we have to take our
VPN.
VPN 18 and look it up.
It's on the right column.
18. It is valid, so no page fault. I think I should put the stuff down here so we can figure out what 18 is. All right. And then the next question is, what is the physical page number?
Just 1.
Just 1. That's how you fill out that table. Okay, 1E. Now we're kind of back to the physical addresses again. And the question is, if there's a page fault, leave this part blank. Well, we know there's not a page fault, so we're going to fill it out. Otherwise, indicate the format of the physical address. Well, we know that the physical address keeps the virtual page offset, bits, and then it has the page number. So that's going to be the 1
So we just append the PPN on front of the VPO basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
'Cause the front part here identifies the page, and this is the address of the memory within that page. So this is always going to be the same across virtual and physical addresses. This is where the mapping occurs.
Okay.
Okay, that's 1E. Okay, 1F. If there is a page fault, leave this part blank. There wasn't a page fault. Otherwise, fill in the following table if there's a cache miss and a dash for cache bytes returned. Okay, so what's the byte offset going to be? Well, let's help you out there. Okay, what's the byte offset going to be?
2.
Okay, there we go. I had it flipped over. Okay. What is the index going to be?
7.
All right. What's the tag going to be?
E1E.
1.
Okay, so now we have this wonderful information. We can take our index 7, and we can look up and see if 1E is there. No, but it's a two-way set associated, right? So there's another entry for slot 7. And 1E is there. That means, and it's valid, that means we had a cache.
Yeah.
Yes. And what is the byte return?
Oh,
Yeah, because it is the 0, 1, 2 second cache offset. That's problem 1F. Okay, problem 2. Okay, this is the implicit free list, okay? And so, as part of this problem, it gives you a list of addresses and the values of those addresses, okay? And I've created some extra columns here just to be helpful. This is the lower 3 bits of the value at position bit 2, 1, and 0. C corresponds to 0, so that is whether the current block is allocated. P corresponds to 1, which is whether the previous block is allocated, and N corresponds to 2, which is whether the next block is allocated. This is the power of having your slideshow written in programming language. They calculated. All right. And then I masked off the lower 3 bits and put the block sizes over here. So the first thing you probably want to do, so what does the problem say? Oh, it says we're going to free this address right here, right? 400B010. And then we have to fix up the free list, the implicit free list accordingly. Well, this looks like a whole bunch of bits to me. I get confused. So the first thing I try to do, starting at the bottom address, is to kind of draw out what are the blocks. So this is obviously a block header. It has a size of 16. This is hexadecimal 16. Those are the 3 bits swapped off. This is hexadecimal 16. So, and these are our 4-byte slots. So that means the first block is going to be this first 4. And this is the identifier for the second block. And that has size 18, so it's going to be the first 4 plus 2. First 6 slots. 18 hexadecimal is 24. 6 times 4 slots. All right. And then this is the third block right here. Now, are you all confused when you have it all straight? Okay, let's color. So, white is a free block. We can know it's free because the allocation bit for the current block is 0. The light blue is the next block. It is allocated, that's why it's blue. And the dark blue is also allocated because its bit is 1. The two colors in blues just so you can see the 2 different blocks. Okay, so this threw me off for a while too. We're going to free this address. But if you look at this address, that's a huge block size. What am I doing wrong?
That's the payload.
That's the payload, right? That's a common mistake. You look at the free address and you start working. But we need to back up the previous 4 bytes and get the header, right? So this is the header. So we're going to free this, which means that value is going to go to 0. And then we have to update this because we're going to merge the 2 blocks. And then we're gonna update the previous here to 02 because this will become 3 now. So, click, it's done. The red lines are the lines that changed, okay? And we can see what changed. The size increased by 18 hexadecimal. We can see that by looking at the just the block size. 10 and went to the 2.8 because we added this extra block in here. The bits remain the same because the previous block they don't show, but we assume it's allocated. The next block is this block up here, which is still allocated. And our current block is, yeah, that's right, okay. Yeah, and our current block is not allocated. So what changed is basically the block size. And you need to pour it in with the bits to get 2E as your answer to that column.
And that's just because those two blocks, the block that you freed merged with
Yeah.
the previous block.
Yeah. So this block down here was white, so it was freed. This is the block that we just freed, so that
Those two
the
merged.
new two, they merged. So that's why 10 plus 18 hexadecimal is 28 hexadecimal.
And they merged because the previous and the current, the one we freed.
They what?
They merged because they're both.
They're both free.
They're
in
both
your code,
free.
Yeah.
So they're one block, they're one free block.
So you just need to check those
What?
last bits.
Immediate total less than.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and then we need to look at these other things that we changed here.
The header and footers are.
We, the size changes here again, and so does the previous matches this one down here. If we look at the next one, the previous is now 0 because this is free. That size remains the same, so we get from 17 to 50. So, if you look at your answer, they basically give you values for this one. They tell you these two stay the same, values for these two. They say this is jump, and then values for this one. Does that make sense? Any questions about implicit free blocks? This is probably overkill, but some of it may be helpful, especially if you get confused with hexadecimal numbers. I do. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, problem 3. I didn't like this problem. Well, this isn't even the exam you're going to get, right?
But not
It actually
asking-
wasn't as bad as I thought. But okay, so basically same situation. We have an implicit free list. The bits still mean the same things. And these are some, what does it say? Yeah, I think I cut out a portion. But these are helper functions to help build the free list. And so size is, we give it a header or a footer, and it's going to return us the size, the block size. It's going to strip off those bottom 7 bits. So is this right?
No.
I sure thought it was when I looked at it. What's wrong with it?
Is it just because you're not casting it?
I'm
right?
sorry, what?
Casting void stars are bad.
Yeah. You can't perform bit operations on a void pointer. So this is wrong. And all you have to add in is this cast right here. Cast this to an int pointer before you dereference it and mask out the little 7 bits.
What matter if we have to look at the unsigned coordinate or we leave it on the same?
For bit operations, I don't think it matters. I'm trying to think if there's any reason why. This is definitely what the answer key said. That's where I got it from. Yeah, I think you're just fine. For this operation doesn't, specific. Yeah. Right, the return type is an integer too. Depending on your compiler, you may get away with an unsigned though. I have to try that.
Oh, that's the tell
It's
sign.
warning instead of an error, yeah. But Clang definitely yelled at me when I typed in the example without the cache.
So charts are definitely not working.
It would not work,
Yeah.
because you would lose all the high bits in what
No.
HP you form.
What's the chart start?
Yeah, you're right. Because you're going to dereference it. So
Got
when
it.
you dereference it, you're just going to get the lower 8 bits. So that's not what you want to do. Definitely Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, so here we're given a P to an allocated block. P is a pointer returned by the previous malloc or revalid call. And we want a pointer to the block's footer. Okay. Wrong, right? It is right.
Right.
Why? That's a good question. It's a really good question. Sorry, I have time to
So
school.
we can-
No. Okay, why is it right? Well, this is the value you're given is P, right? P. We cast it to a char star pointer, and we subtract 4 bytes to get back to the header. Okay? Because this is 4 bytes, this address is 4 bytes less than this one. Now we're in the header, we can use the size function, which we saw in the previous part A, that will return us the size of the block. Okay? And so we take P and we add the size that the size function gives us to it, and we get this point right here. And we should be done. Right? No, because if P was right here, it would point us to the next block. But P is 4 bytes in, so we need to subtract 4 off.
And then 4
And
again.
we need to subtract another 4 bytes off to get to the start of the header. That's why the -8 occurs here. Is that a decent graphic? Does that make sense how the math works? That's how you know that this is correct.
If you got in your head on the test.
But you can change that char star to in star and then subtract the loss.
Yeah. Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
And then it would be subtract 2 on the 8.
My gut reaction is yes. I always don't like to play the compiler. Yeah, I think that was
Because it would just hop in leaps of 4, right, when you do ints versus char where it's
yeah,
just
but
1
this 8 would
byte.
be wrong too.
You just subtract.
Yeah,
You would have to
That
subtract
be-
2 with
that
the
would be
8.
2. 4
Yeah.
would have to be
a 1.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, you're right. So if you change size, if you divide size by 4, then it will.
Oh.
And division would screw you up anyway, so.
Does that make sense? So, good point. That was you, yeah. So you can almost make a lot of things work. Stick with the simplest case you can. Maybe it would be helpful to see the previous slide that says, size returns. Does it
Number.
say? Yeah, number 5. At least on your test, you're going to see that whole sheet of pages. Okay, third part of the problem. Given a pointer to a valid block header or footer, return the usage of the previous block, 1 for allocated, 0 for correct. Well, this masks off and returns just one of us, returns
It
one of
returns
the
the
bits
next.
to us. That sounds right. What? It's masking off all bits except for the second bit, which is represented by 4. Because it's an and.
Third
Think of
bit.
everything else as zeros. So you're going to get back, what are you going to get back? What is this code going to give you back?
It's return the third bit.
It's going to give you back the value
0, 1,
0 or 4.
0,
Wait,
1.
this is completely wrong. Never mind.
You need to shift it down and
Yeah, it's going to give you back the value 0 or 4. Okay, what did the question ask for? It wants
1.
either 1 or 0, right? So we've got problems to start with. Maybe else notice some other problems.
You're giving back the next bit.
The next one.
Right. If you go back to the previous slide, you'll remember that the second bit is the next block, not the previous block. You need to ask this for the previous block, which is bit 1, not bit 2. And bit 1 is value 2. That's really confusing, isn't it? So, this is wrong. How do we make it right? We want the second bit, which is represented by value 2, as a mask.
And then shift over
And
there.
then So this will give us back either 2 or 0.
And then you.
So we shift it 1 to the right, so that we're ensured to get back either 0 or 1. So we had 2 errors here. First of all, we were masking out the wrong bit, and then we weren't thinking that, hey, we're going to get the value of that bit, which is not one, or the value of the number, which is going to be 0 or 4 or 0 or 2, but we want 0 or 1. It doesn't just return you the bit, it returns you the integer with only that bit remaining. That's what and masking does, right? Okay, I'm gonna kill this one now. This was a fair one. This was kind of a fair one. I thought this one was evil. Okay. Word problems, we get to write. Okay, so here we're talking about threads and processes. A context switch between 2 threads in the same process is faster than a context switch between 2 processes. Why? Anybody want to take a shot?
Copy variables.
Okay, one at a time. Let's start with the hand up raised.
Threads share memory when you go to process it.
Okay, so I think, let me reiterate what you said. Threads share an address space. They have the same address space, right? So when you context switch a thread, you don't have, if you're implementing the operating system, you don't have to context switch the address space. You have to context switch other things, but not the address space. So that's a good reason to think why they're faster. Okay, thread contexts are much smaller than process contexts. This is primarily due to the fact that all threads are running within a process share the same virtual memory address space or address space. Okay, that's the answer. The truth of the matter is on Linux, thread context switching and process context switching are almost the same.
If the grammar doesn't count, it's primarily due to fact.
Hey, I cut and paste that right out of the answer. Okay.
Too fast.
But I think this is a good argument, is the context for a thread can be smaller and maybe the operating system makes the right choices. I'm just giving you one counter example. Linux, that's probably, there's very little difference. Other operating systems, I would definitely believe this. But as a general argument, it's a good answer. Green, okay. Assuming you're running a badly programmed version of Unix in which context switches between threads are actually slower than context switches between processes. Describe a situation in which you, as the programmer, would still prefer to use multiple threads as opposed to multiple processes. Okay, we have a winner up to that.
You can take advantage of the shared address space to transfer information between threads so the threads more
Yep, that's exactly right.
I/O.
Yeah, so threads, even though they context switch slower, they still share the same address space. So you get kind of implicit communication by using the same memory. As another case, I think this is a very good answer. Processes, you can ask to share memory across processes, but that's really complicated. It's a pain. In fact, my dissertation decided not to do that. So. But if you want to be technical and combative. But this is a good answer. Okay, moving on. Problem 4b, a global variable is shared if it is accessed by more than one thread during the execution of a program. Recall that most of the time a thread should only access a shared global variable while holding the lock that protects the variable. Describe a situation in which the correct program would not need to hold any lock while accessing a shared global variable. Someone new?
You're just reading it?
Yeah, everybody is just reading it. Nobody's writing it. If somebody's writing it somewhere,
Been tough.
you're in trouble. That's not the right answer if someone's writing it somewhere. So if they're only reading, then you don't need a lock. Good answer. Okay, part II,
4B2.
Yeah, 4B2. Explain why it is critical that each of the P and V operations on a semaphore occur indivisibly. Someone new who has an answer to the question. This is a harder one. One in the back. Yeah, if your semaphore operation can get interrupted and corrupted by someone else using a semaphore at the same time you're using it, then your semaphore does you no good. But the thing to know is that semaphores are just shared variables. What makes them unique is that their operations are guaranteed to be atomic or indivisible. Is that what that says? Yep. So if we didn't have atomicity of the two semaphore operations, kind of put and get, then we'd be no different than the other variables, and we'd be susceptible to interleavings of load update store sequences. Okay, moving on. 4C. Consider two multi-server. This is the simple. See, there's no I or I here, but there are two parts. Consider two multi-threaded web servers. Server A creates a new thread for each incoming connection. Server B, on the other hand, pre-creates a fixed pool of threads, 8 for example, at startup time and uses these to handle all connections. First, describe a workload that will cause A to perform better than B. Second, describe a workload that will cause B to perform better than A. In each case, explain why there's a difference in performance. We say that a web server performs better than another if it handles more requests per second. Okay, so let's get my A's and B's straight here. A creates threads as they need it. B creates 8 and just uses 8. Okay, so why would A be better than B?
You have new people connecting and they stay on for a long while.
Yeah.
B would do better in the case where you're doing like little mini transactions where people are constantly connecting and disconnecting.
Close. And we don't. Wait a minute.
A would be better if you have more than 8, and B would be better if you have 8 or fewer.
Always 8 or fewer computer connections. Yeah, I think that's kind of what you were getting at.
I was just thinking of like thread overhead. So if you're constantly, having a billion connections and you're constantly closing them.
Yeah, there are buts, if, buts, and ors, right? All these buts. And you're right.
Yeah.
You could write an essay. Matthew's going to be very happy if you can keep your answer about this short.
If you go on the back page again,
Yeah.
you say, whoa.
It's not a good way to get graded. Well, okay. So, to recap, B will be better if you always only see 8 connections or less at a time, because there's no overhead of creating threads. That's probably what we're saying. If you have a bazillion CPUs and you create threads as requests come in, then you can service those requests faster if there's more than 8 by choosing the A option. Okay, moving on. Semaphores. That's terrible. I kind of revealed the answers. Okay, too bad. So, we have these 2 threads. P means to acquire the semaphore, and V means to release it. And we have 3 semaphores. They all initially have a value of 1. And so the question is, does deadlock always occur? Does it might occur, or does it never occur? Anyone want to take a shot at explaining the first one? Which one is it? Mike? Exactly right. Finding the case where it doesn't occur is usually as easy as letting one thread run to completion before the next thread is skipped. Okay? Finding a case where it does occur involves interleaving. Did Matthew teach you a way to figure this out better than what I'm explaining? Yeah.
If they're always wired in order, you're never going to deadlock, but if they do it in mixed mode, like not alphabetical, it can.
That's the important part. It can. So that's a sufficient condition, but a necessary condition, but not sufficient to prove that it won't deadlock.
So will it only always deadlock if they don't release one of their
In the same
blocks?
order? No.
Or like if it never releases it, you just never see the release.
So you're talking about the case if you ran it in 2 separate threads, so you have one thread finished to completion and you have thread 2 finished to completion.
Yeah, if thread 1 doesn't have a release for it,
Then it would
and
never.
thread 2 is going to acquire that.
Yeah.
then you're gonna deadlock.
And
Well,
then- Always.
thread 2 will deadlock, right?
Oh,
I guess what's the question is, when do you
Well-
get always?
What?
like under what condition would you always? 'Cause it seems like you could might. I mean,
You could
might
always
is,
get a
might is
might.
pretty certain unless, you know, might or
Unless-
never is pretty frequent. But when would you always, no matter what? 'Cause you could always just run one to completion and the other.
Well, if a thread does not give up the mutex,
Yeah.
or give up the
Well, it would have to be both threads. Just theoretically.
Well, no, only one thread, it depends what the initial values are, right? But let's assume that the initial value is 1. Thread 1 acquires, never gives up the mutex, and thread 2 waits for that. I keep saying mutex, sorry, semaphore. And waits for that semaphore, the thread 2 will deadlock. It will never continue.
Yeah.
Because no one ever releases that semaphore.
Okay.
So
So-
that's one case where it will always deadlock. One of the
The-
threads will always deadlock.
So if they were all initially 0, then
Maybe, they might call V.
If,
before.
yeah,
unless
if
they
someone
call V, that's
releases
right.
before they, I mean, right.
okay.
Kind of the devil with it, deadlock, you just never V.
Yeah.
What?
You just never V. You take it
You
lock,
never
and then
unlock.
you never unlock.
Yeah, but if only one person takes a lock ever, they'll all run to completion.
Yeah, the other one has to have.
Yeah, you have to have someone else that tries to take a lock,
That you're not releasing.
where there's no resources available. These are tricky. Okay, so I gave you an interleaving where thread 1 acquires A, thread 2 acquires C, thread 1 acquires B, and we notice that there are all the semaphores are empty. And so when this last line represents the next step for each thread. Since they're all empty, there's no way that these will ever acquire, hence you have to. So this was a might. It will occur sometimes. And this is what we mean by interleaving. That means interleaving is the order in which those threads are scheduled. Yeah. No, but I'm just, yeah, all you gotta do is circle. 1 out of 3 shot. But I'm trying to give you a better odds than 1 out of 3 by showing you the technique. Yeah. Yes, but when is C going to be released? Yeah, but it's blocked on A. It's never going to get that far. It's never going to get down. Wait. Yeah, C, yeah. The A is grabbing A is before the release of C. It will never release C because it's waiting on A. Got it? Okay. Moving on. The next one. Anybody want to take a guess? Just look at it.
My
Mike.
CB.
Once again, Mike. My classic example of where it won't. And here's the interleaving where it will. Same way as the last problem. Questions about this one? I have to what, 2:45?
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing fine. Last one.
Never.
It's never, right? Yeah, it'll never occur. Now, someone said something about, well, if you just acquire the locks in the same order and give them back in the reverse order, then you won't deadlock, right?
That doesn't
I
matter.
mean, or that you
It
might.
doesn't matter how you unlock.
Yeah.
it just-
Yeah.
Yeah, the might is the imperfect, that's, yeah,
What I said was, if each thread is always acquiring them in the same order,
yeah,
like alphabetically,
yeah.
doesn't matter where you release them. At least I believe.
Alphabet, if you acquire them,
For example.
Yeah.
B and thread 1 grab A, B, C, and thread 2 grab.
yeah, so, I'm gonna have to think about that one, but that sounds right.
That's what matters.
That sounds even better now. Yeah, right. So its lock acquisition order is in the same order for all threads. Then they're not. So one of the things you have to have is, for deadlock, you have to have a circular wave. So you won't have a circular wave. They select the same order. That's not.
They're not doing that.
Okay. Enough of that problem.
But were they selecting the same order in that one?
No, this one is not.
Okay.
But so that's not
a rule.
Yeah, that's not the strong.
That's not
It's just like
I mean,
guideline.
You can concoct examples where the order is not the same order and there still will never be deadlock. But it's hard. or it's harder. Yeah, this is the case. Okay, so 6A, we have some assembly code.
Yay. Huzzah.
1 out of 6
Huzzah.
chance. Okay. I am doing pretty colors here. So the way I do this is I just march through like I am the microprocessor. So we push the old frame pointer, we move the stack to the new frame pointer, that's all Prolog, doesn't matter. Okay, we move the argument into a register, and we do an arithmetic left shift by 4.
I'm 16.
So
What?
it's times by
Times
16.
16.
So we just multiplied our argument x by 16. Okay? Playing the microprocessor here.
And then we
And then we
subtract
subtract x from 16
16.
times x. 16 times x minus x is
15 times x.
15x. We do some more cleanup and 15x gets returned. So which one is it?
Choice 3.
Good job. Okay. Moving on. We play microprocessor again. This is the boilerplate prologue. We move the argument into EAX. We test EAX with itself. What does that do? What does it test it?
EAX minus EAX, so test
What?
if it's 0.
Test 0.
Well,
Te-
test ands something with itself and throws away the result. And it sets the processor flags. Okay. And this jump is
Jump greater or equal.
greater than or equal to 0, right?
Hmm.
So it's L4. So if this number is greater than or equal, we jump to L4. Otherwise, we add 15. Oh, we have some debate here. It could very well could happen. Because the flags are set if EAX is 0 or greater. So if it's a negative number, we're going to add 15 to it. Who knows? I have no idea why.
That's,
But-
it's
an
like
offset
a,
for division. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to add 15 to it if it's a negative number. And then we are going to do, no matter what it is, a arithmetic shift to the right of 4 by 4, which is
divide by 16.
divide by 16. Okay, so all I know is that we're dividing something by 16 and sometimes adding 15 to it is negative. And that's the new return result. So let's march through. Well, there's the divide by 16, but the plus 15 just doesn't make sense to me, so I'll choose that.
You'd be right.
Answer, but not.
It's the right answer, but why? Why are we adding 15?
For an offset.
What?
Offset for division. You have to round up when you go
Yeah.
negative, or else it'll
When
round
you
down.
shift negative numbers to the right, they don't round towards 0, they round the other direction. So 15 just happens to be 2 to the 4th minus 1, which is a bias. If we add, we ensure that rounding will go the right direction, and the division will return the right result. That is on page 96 of your book.
Also in lab 1.
I had to look that up. Okay. Lab 1. Great. I didn't do lab 1. Okay. So we're on choice 5. Okay. Thank you, choice 5. Okay. Last one, I believe. Right? There were 3 of them? 2 to 3. Let's play microprocessor. We XOR something with itself. What does that do?
Make it 0
Zeros it. Test is
to see if we're greater.
we're anding it, throwing result, setting the processor flags. Now wait a second. We zeroed the EAX, but we're setting the flags for the argument. Alright? Okay, so EAX is 0, and we're testing to see if this is 0 or greater. If it is, we jump over. If it's not, EAX goes from 0 to 1. Okay. So if it's negative, EAX goes to 1. Oh, okay. And then we just return 0 or 1. 1 if it's negative, 0 otherwise.
So x is 0.
Not 6. 1. Choice one. That's how you do those. When I look at this stuff, I have to remember what test del is every time. I just remember that that's an and setting processing lines. But most of the rest of the stuff is pretty straightforward, especially if you take the class. Okay. Problem 7. Consider the following code fragment containing the incomplete definition of the data type. Construct the matrix entry, and it has 4 fields, A, B, C, and D. Okay, this is another Blade microprocessor. This is the prologue. We get the argument I. Okay, does anybody want to explain this instruction to me?
We multiply it by 4 and then add it one more time, essentially add it to 25.
Yeah. The thing to always remember is load effective address sometimes can do multiplication for you. That's kind of
In fact, that's like the only time it's been used this semester.
Yeah.
I think we'll see it somewhere else today. Problem 8. Okay. But, so it performs multiplication for us to be obscure. It's probably more efficient multiplication than tell the truth. Yeah, I know it is. More efficient multiplication. Okay. So we basically taken I, multiplied it by 5, and stored it back in the EAX. That's because each row in the matrix has 5 elements. Okay? Moving on. The next one, what do? We take the second argument, J,
And
and we add it to EAX.
5 times I, yeah.
Ah, so wait. We multiplied it by
5
5,
plus
added
J.
1, that's
5
5.
plus J.
Ah, so that gives us how many, it counts the rows for us. And then this counts how many across we are in the last row of the J's. Okay, so that gives us, if this matrix was laid out linearly, it tells us how many entries in we need to go, right? So that is stored in EAX. We then shift EAX by 4. Why are we doing that? What? That's the size of each entry, right? Okay, so this is the first good piece of information that plain microprocessors told us. What is the size of the struct?
16.
2 to the 4th, 16. Okay, so we know this size, this thing is 16 big. That will be helpful. Okay, next we take the pointer to the ith, jth matrix entry, and we add 6 to it. So we're getting the position 6, the 6th offset into the matrix entry, right? And that is going to be C. So C is 6 bytes into the structure. And we know that the structure is 16 bytes long. Now we have enough information to start guessing. Okay. So what is B going to be?
Short.
Well, we need a 2-byte thing here and a 4-byte thing
Well,
here,
except
right?
you have to be aligned properly.
Well, so let's. Okay, so I can't stick the 4-byte thing here.
Because you would start at
No,
2,
because
then it had to be at
line would
4.
wrong, right? So the 4-byte thing has got to go in A.
And then B is short.
Does it have to be short?
It could be a char.
It could be a char because alignment's going to fix it, right? It's going to still give us an offset of 6. So the right answer is
Shorter char.
short.
You have to put short or char, would that work? You have to put that whole thing together.
You got to ask the grader about that.
Okay.
I believe the test even says there are multiple answers, and they'll probably take any correct answer, right? Okay, so we know that A has to be the 4 thing, so it's a hint.
And then it has to be 16.
So this is 4. This is going to be 2 because of alignment. The short here is going to force this to be
So
2
this
bytes.
has to be a
4,
double.
2, 2. That's 8. We need something that's 8 bytes long.
Oh.
Okay.
Question about this. The line Marvell matrix plus 6 EAX EAX.
This line.
Yes, that's moving along, so 32 bits. Starting at the address of C. Wouldn't that pull in the first 2 bytes of B as well? Shouldn't that be
This is. Yeah.
a mob W or a mob W with zeros and
Yeah, I have to think about that because of,
It's because of alignments, doesn't matter about the last 2 bytes, right?
No, the double isn't padded, there's no space in between keys.
the way that, I think this will return the right answer because of the way that least significant byte works on the little Indian machines. That being said, I have to think about it a lot harder for it to be just yeah.
I think early on semester class, I was thinking about it too, but the x86 word mom
Yeah.
corresponds to integer and double.
Well, no, but that's still moving 4 bytes.
No. Move L is going to move 4 bytes.
And long is
Right, and what he's saying is, well, short is only 2 bytes. But because of the way that least significant bytes first occurs, the last 2 bytes aren't going to matter. So,
Oh, I see.
I think that's
the top
my,
2 bytes of
you
the
got me on
index
my
are
feet
ignored.
answer, okay?
I mean,
I didn't write this test, so I have to think about it long and hard, but
yeah, I think,
it also depends on who uses this code. Okay. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. Okay, moving on. Problem 8. Yeah, this one's nice. Okay. So the question is, I didn't put the whole problem up here. So X, they give us X, right? X is this string of bytes representing A, B, C, D, E, F.
No.
I, something like that. Okay. You go figure it out. The first 9 letters of the alphabet. Okay, and so this gets passed to call foo, which then passes it, or it's inside of call foo, and this gets passed to foo. And foo has an integer, so 4 bytes. And so string copy is going to copy this 10 bytes of information into a 4-byte location. That's what the code's going to do. You need to remember that constant strings are terminated by a null byte, so there's 10 of them. Okay? So, the question then becomes, what is bub 0, 1, and 2 going to look like in hexadecimal format? Anybody know? It's kind of backwards, isn't it? What? Oh yeah, we'll get to that. The reason why it's backwards is because least significant byte first. So this is the most significant byte. So when it prints it out, it's going to take the most significant byte, and the next byte, and the next byte, and the next byte. That's how integers are stored. Integers are stored least significant byte first on a little Indian machine, which we're assuming x86. But when it prints it out for humans, it puts the most significant byte first. Or hexadecimal notation puts the most significant byte first, right? And hence, and you're asked to do that. You're asked to write this out in hexadecimal notation for integers. And so you just got to flip those 4. And then the good question is what do you put in for 8 and 4? Because I mean, we don't know. We don't know what that's going to be. Well, we have to keep on doing the problem to figure out where 8 and 4 come from. This is the key right here. This is what the stack looks like, right? When we come into foo, before we come into foo, this call instruction in call foo is going to push on its return address, which will be the instruction immediately following the call. We come into foo, and we push the base pointer. So we save the base pointer, right? Just think of this as our stack marching downwards. And then, if you look down to this load effective address instruction. This takes the argument EAX. EAX is the only argument to foo, which is X. Wait, no, it takes the base pointer, which is pointing right here, and it subtracts 4 from it. And it takes this address, the next spot on the stack, and it pushes it on the stack, what we call to stream copy. In other words, it's pushing the address of buffer so stream copy can copy into the buffer, right? And remember, the buff is only, an integer is only 4 bytes long. That's why it's subtracting 4 from the base pointer. And so it's allocating this memory right here for stream copy to copy its bytes. Okay? So, if we keep looking, this is what the stack looks, this is the questions it asks, right? It says, what is the base pointer after, right before we return, right here? We don't know what it was previously, it was just stuffed on there. We don't know what the value was, but it was right there. But we know that this line, the next 4 bytes in the stack, is buff 0. And it's only 4 bytes long, but we're going to write 10 bytes up the stack. So we're going to write the first 4 bytes. The second 4 bytes are going to override the base pointer we pushed on the stack. And it's also going to override the address that the return address that call pushed over the stack. It's going to at least override the first 2 bytes of it. And so we know that the new value for the base pointer is going to be buff 1. And we know that the 2 least significant digits of the return address right here are going to be overwritten by 6900. So the 84 come from the return address. And we know the return address is 8040 8523 because it is the next instruction following the call.
Wow, that's tricky.
This one's hard.
Skip that one.
Yeah.
Just put C's right.
So basically,
But yes.
it requires you to know that calls push the return address before they invoke the function. Then you have to follow and see what's put on the stack next. The base pointer is put on the stack next. And then the base pointer is given the stack pointer. And then you have to see that the slot on the stack following the base pointer is what is passed as the location of buff. And if you can get all that, then it's pretty good. That's problem 8. That's all I've got. Problem 8. Questions? Okay, last one.
This one.
Consider the following C program. Assume that all functions return normally and that the proper header files have been included. So they want to draw a diagram of what that illustrates the processes at runtime. So I'm going to try to draw this for you. What's the first thing that happens? The first effect that we can see? Start.
So you get start?
Start, right? Start occurs. So this is, we're going to call this our initial process. And we see start, right? What happens next?
We fork.
Fork and do print.
Okay, so we fork. So we get 2 processes, right?
And then we print the child's, whether or not the child has a 0 or 1.
Yeah, so the fork for the parent is going to return the process ID, right?
But it's going to
The
be
not of the process ID will always be
0.
0. So the parent process, I should write this as parent. This is the child. The parent will print 0. What will the child do? 1. Okay. Then what will happen?
The parent's going to wait for the child process to finish.
Okay. So the parent's going to wait to some point in time, right? Okay, what's the child going to do?
Probably
Print.
an error.
What? I'm sorry,
It's gonna call wait.
It's
get a
gonna call
negative
wait.
one back.
what's gonna happen?
There's a negative one, it has no choice.
Has no children, it'll get a negative one back. So
Print
you
N.
won't print the status. You'll print N, right? And then what will happen?
Exit and return a status of 2.
It'll return 2. So I'll exit with, I'm just gonna kind of circle the 2 here because it's not gonna print that, it's gonna return that, right?
And then the parent ID is going to print 2 and then
Yeah, so the
end.
parent's gonna print 2
And
and then N. Right? See how right.
exit would cause it.
Okay, maybe we should add a couple diagrams, right? And then there's exits here. Okay, that's part A. Part B. You have 3 possible outputs of this program. Anybody have any ideas how to do this?
Well,
You just go through your diagram.
Yeah, you just go through your diagram. You know the first, they're always going to start with start.
and it's gonna be 0 or N.
Sure.
0 or 1, right?
0 or 1, yeah, and then N.
So what they say to do
You have to have 1 and N and 0 for anywhere in there.
is to write a graph of edges, right? So we start, goes to 0, goes to 1, and then 1 goes to N, right?
Zero goes to 2.
And then,
0 goes to 2.
and then we have 2, right?
2 after the end.
2 goes over here, but it requires an edge from N, and it requires an edge from 0, right?
And then end.
Then
And then
end.
we're gonna get N, right? Yeah, but I've already put 2. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it over there. So we get this little state diagram, and we can write them in any order as long as the preceding bubble always occurs before the next bubble on the lines, the cross edges. That's called topological sorting, right? So we can do start 0, or we can do start 1. Then we could choose 1 and then 0, or we could do start 1. See if I can make this end, the child's end, right? And then the 0, and then 2, and then end, and this becomes end to end, right? And the last one becomes end to end. So that's kind of the pragmatic way of generating 3 possible outputs in the program. That's it. I'd be happy to take questions, do whatever you like.